those programs.
I mean, that's pretty loud from the people of Texas. And watch this moment from a town hall in Kansas where constituents pressed Senator Roger Marshall so forcefully that he literally just got up and walked out.
We don't have time for everyone to stand up. I do got 2 more commitments today. Appreciate everybody making the drive out, and God bless America. Thank you.
All right.
Any president would find it difficult to overcome the significant run of setbacks, scandals, and missteps that Donald Trump has experienced. But it is significantly worse for him due to the actions of those around him as well as his own behavior. Naturally, I'm referring to his press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, who became so enraged at the scandals and shortcomings of the Trump administration in the last few weeks that she began attacking reporters. The fact that she finally realized how bad things were for Trump was actually the worst part of it all. It was amusing. A meltdown occurred. We will discuss everything. However, I would like to ask you to quickly like this video, and if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button if you like our channel. It would mean a lot to me and goes a long way. Let's now examine this initial video of Carolyn Leavitt being confronted.
Officials here were miffed that Zelensky showed up last week without a suit for his meeting in the Oval Office. But Elon Musk never wears a suit.
He did last night.
So what is the dress code?
Well, Elon Musk wore a suit last night. I'm sure you saw it.
Was he spooked by the Zelensky getting kicked out?
No, I don't think so. I'm just pointing out that he did wear a suit last night, and I think the president liked that very much.
The hypocrisy of this Zelensky suit conversation is so obvious that I'm actually happy Peter asked the question. I can't believe I'm saying this. I created a video on the subject. Republicans were upset. They don't mind that Elon Musk can act like the biggest dork in the world, but President Zelensky, whose nation is at war, wasn't dressed in a suit. There's no logic to it. It's just dumb. I keep returning to the Republicans' claims that Zelensky was disrespectful in the Oval Office and that he spoke out of turn, but they are unable to provide an example of what he actually did. So are they only upset about his attire? Are they really that insecure? How much of a snowflake are they? They are obviously that insecure. They are obviously upset. See you. Here, we witness Carolyn Leavitt snapping at a reporter.
That's less than a carry-on suitcase. Is that a lot of fentanyl compared to, say, Mexico? The vast majority of the fentanyl is brought in through Mexico, not Canada. So what else does Canada need to do?
Well, I just told you, last year alone, there was a 2,000% increase in illegal fentanyl. You're asking me for what the president's justification is for these tariffs. It's not up to you. You're not the president, Gabe. And frankly, I think it's a little bit disrespectful to the families in this country who have lost loved ones at the hands of this deadly poison. If you talk to them, and this president has, they are grateful that they finally have a president who is standing up to both Canada and Mexico, and most importantly, to China as well. The president added an additional 10% tariff on China because this deadly poison is being produced in that country. It's being distributed through our neighbors, and there needs to be consequences for that.
I believe we have the right to ask questions, even though we are aware that the reporter is not the president. Isn't that the goal of the free press as a whole? I understand that you're not a supporter of the free press, Carolyn, but, well, that's their responsibility to inquire. And how it is truly collapsing around Donald Trump when he is causing some absurd trade war, which we will discuss in a moment. Since Donald Trump made a campaign pledge to do the exact opposite, I believe the media is free to question why he is raising prices through his trade war. However, as we can see right now, they are forced to come up with all of these distractions.
Continues to call the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, Governor of Canada. I'm curious what he means by that, and if there are any plans that are moving forward with trying to make Canada the 51st state. And I have a follow-up on the economy as well.
Sure. Well, the president put that in his True Social account, or his True Social post earlier today. He feels strongly that it would be very beneficial for the Canadian people to be the 51st state of the United States. They wouldn't be paying for these tariffs. They'd have much lower taxes if they were part of our great country.
Why do we continue to do this? It is extremely foolish. It's so dumb. But once more, it's just another ploy to divert Trudeau, the 51st state governor. No one is interested. At this point, eggs cost about $112, and the ongoing tariffs, which I mentioned we would look into, are only making matters worse in every other industry. In addition, we're losing hundreds of thousands of jobs due to the economic downturn, the anticipated recession, Elon's firing of employees at will, and yes, things aren't going well. Something Carolyn Levitt acknowledged right here on WeChat.
Thank you, Caroline. Back on tariffs, last night President Trump said there will be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. Can you put a dollar figure amount on how much the average American family should expect to pay as this disturbance? And why should Americans be okay with that when so many are already struggling to pay the bills?
Well, first of all, last night, the president told the truth, and he was realistic, and he level set with the American people. And I think, frankly, it's very refreshing, and everybody in this room should be very grateful that we have a president who tells the truth about the reality of the economic situation that we are in, unlike the previous president who lied to everybody's faces, saying inflation was transitory, saying it was under control, saying that the border was secure, when none of that was true. So the president is being frank and honest, and the American people elected this president to have monumental reform and change, including rebuilding our manufacturing base in this country, standing up to foreign nations who have been ripping off our country for decades, and that requires a little bit of disruption. That requires a lot of effort and work that this president is focused on doing. With that said, as the president said last night, his administration is wholeheartedly committed, of course, to ending the inflation nightmare caused by the Biden administration. Look at the
It's there. At last, they acknowledged it. It's true that tariffs will hurt us, but they don't give a damn. A $10 egg is not much of a crisis if you're a billionaire. It is if you're a normal person, but they don't give a damn. This administration isn't about that. Once more, this is the exact opposite of what they ran on. Significant cuts to government programs that keep people alive, fed, and housed. That is the goal of this administration. Promises are not kept, and renaming a body of water to own the libs does not imply that you are carrying out your fictitious mandate. The pain is already being felt by people. Here in the press room, listen to that admission once more.
The president mentioned a little disturbance during his remarks yesterday. The CEO of Target says that consumers will likely see prices go up on everything from strawberries to bananas to avocados. How long should Americans expect to pay higher prices? Are we talking a week, a couple of days, a few months?
Again, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I can assure the American people is that this president and this administration is doing everything they can. And I would remind you and everybody else in this room that it's because of the previous administration's economic policies that Americans were left with record high inflation. Inflation throughout Joe Biden's entire 48 months in office.
CEOs are acknowledging that Donald Trump is to blame for price increases. The worst thing about Donald Trump's tariffs is that even if they never materialize, the mere prospect of them raising prices is driving up prices. What happens when prices increase? Do you know? Usually they tend to remain there. I don't think businesses that are already charging more are worth it. Eggs are an exception due to the bird flu, but they won't lower the prices of other products even if they can raise them by a few percentage points. That's what we observed during the post-pandemic inflationary period. Supply chains were not the reason why prices kept rising a year, 2, or 3 years later. The reason for this is that businesses understand that they can gradually begin to raise prices a little bit here and a little bit there without anyone noticing by using the pretext of inflation and generally rising prices. Put all the blame on inflation, but the Trump administration is really about their greed. Out as well. CEO's greed is to blame. It's the biggest billionaire's greed. It's greed on Donald Trump's part as he prioritizes himself over real customers. And as Jen Psaki discussed just here, it's the reason Trump is so unpopular.
I mean, you're in the majority, actually. Brand new polling shows that a majority of Americans say the State of the Union is not very strong. A majority of Americans say the cuts to the federal government are doing more harm than good. A majority of Americans say Trump has not paid enough attention to the country's most important problems. And the only president who had a lower approval rating than Donald Trump at this point in their presidency is Donald Trump. Again, you see what's happening. You know what's happening. And you are in the majority. We see that very clearly in the data. And we're also seeing it in communities and town halls all across the country. I mean, look at the greeting Vice President J.D. Vance got in Vermont over the weekend, when citizens crowded the streets carrying signs like democracy, not fascism, and my personal favorite, go ski in Russia, J.D. And listen to this chorus of boos at Congressman Keith Self's town hall in Texas over the weekend. I mean, that's pretty loud from the people of Texas. And watch this moment from a town hall in Kansas where constituents pressed Senator Roger Marshall so forcefully that he literally just got up and walked out.
We don't have time for everyone to stand up. I do got 2 more commitments today. Appreciate everybody making the drive out, and God bless America. Thank you.
All right,
Tomorrow night will be big. I will tell it like it is. But let me translate that for you real quick. When Trump says he'll tell it like it is, what he really means is that he's going to tell you what his own warped version of what he wants you to believe. I mean, I obviously don't know what's in the speech. I can't entirely predict all the things he's going to talk about at all. But I think it's pretty safe to say that he's going to lie, he's going to exaggerate, he's going to sugarcoat, he's going to say a lot of things that aren't true. But as you're watching that and resisting the urge to throw something at the TV, if you do, just make sure it's a soft thing. Just remember that you know what's true. No matter what he says tomorrow, you know what he's already done. You know what you've been seeing with your own eyes. You know how you and your family and your neighbors have been feeling. I mean, you probably felt a little less safe booking that next flight after a series of recent crashes and air disasters, as Trump and Musk continued their quest to gut the FAA. I bet you've heard about the measles outbreak in Texas, killing a child that might be the same age as your kid or your grandkid, as Trump and Musk got the Department of Health and Human Services. You might have seen the news today that for the first time in history, your Social Security checks might not come on time. You've probably gone to the grocery store over the past few weeks and seen that the prices have not actually gone down, but up. And you know that when Trump imposes his tariffs on Canada and Mexico in a few hours, costs will go up even more. If you have money in the stock market, you probably noticed that the markets tanked today after Trump confirmed those tariffs are coming. And I know you saw what happened in the Oval Office on Friday, when Trump berated an ally under attack and sided with a murderous dictator. Point is this, you see what's happening, you know what's happening. And if you spent the last few weeks worrying about what all of this means for you and what this means for the country and your community,
Donald Trump has already stated that this is the most unpopular presidency in history. He simply decided he had to do it again, I suppose. But it's really time for us to take advantage of this moment. The winds are driving us ahead. Things are starting to change because of our momentum. We have the ability to call them out, and we will do so on this show each and every day. As always, you can click the subscribe button to show your support for that. In addition to liking this video, you can leave a blue heart in the comments if you're still watching it at the end. Until we meet again, I'll see you soon.